It's now 3 o'clock, and as chairman, I'm going to call the meeting to order. And welcome to the Diversion Authority Land Management Committee meeting of December 17 at 3 p.m. Dawn, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Flacco. Present. Derrick.
Here.
Mr. Campbell.
Here.
Mr. Borboom.
Here.
Ms. White.
Here.
Mr. Breitling.
Here.
Ms. Maggio. Ms. Sternberg.
Here.
And Mr. Zimmerman.
Here.
Quorum is present.
Dawn, do we have a quorum?
We have a quorum.
Thank you. The next item is the approval of the minutes of October 22, 2025. Is there a motion to approve as printed?
Flacco moves.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion, question, or concerns over the content of those published minutes? Hearing none, this is a roll call vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. The next item is the approval of the agenda as printed and published. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as printed and published?
White moves to approve.
Campbell second.
Are there any questions or comments that need to be made concerning the minutes at this time? Hearing none, all of those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion, all opposed, same sign. Motion carried. The fourth item of business is the OINs 9576, 9577, 9578, and 9579. This is formerly the elevator that existed adjacent to the Oxbow community. I'm going to ask Mr. Fisher to provide us the information necessary to address this question.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Committee. Today, we have first recommendation for approval, as mentioned, would be for the 4 OINs for the Oxbow Hickson elevator site. Some key pieces that we've noted within this packet are the 4 sites combined total a little over 10 acres, 10.01 to be exact, as we have them written out. In doing so, we want to note that this was initially purchased for $1.1 million, a little bit more, with a proposed sale of $1 million based on $100,000 per acre for developable land. What's noted in this is that there is areas impacted by the storm sewer easements, as well as other existing utility easements, as noted on these map works. We do currently manage the site for mowing, and we have to date spent roughly $50,000 on mowing and maintenance for the site. With that, we would seek committee recommendation for placing this for excess policy, moving this through.
Are there any questions? My understanding is this would simply list the property for sale. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Maybe just to add a little more color to that, the policy indicates that we would first give the opportunity to the member entities of the authority, so City of Fargo, Cass County, et cetera. Cass County may be interested in some additional right-of-way along Main Avenue there, and once we declare it excess, it allows us to entertain Cass County's interest. After the member entities, the opportunity goes to the former landowners. After the former landowners, it goes to the adjacent landowners. And then at that point, if there's no interest, it would go to public sale. We do anticipate there will be interest in this property, so hopefully.
Can you describe for us the adjacent landowners?
So the city of Oxbow owns land immediately adjacent to this. There are other properties on both sides across the roads as well. You can see on the map here, there's a number of private residences on the east side that are within Oxbow, and then on the west side, you have the Knickerbocker, you have the the church and other properties within the city of, or community of Hickson as well. So quite a few adjacent landowners, the city of Oxbow being one of them.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Mr. Chair, it's my understanding that the action today would just be to recommend that this go into the excess lands, and then at that point in time, it would follow the normal procedure for.
Correct.
That's my understanding as well.
With that, Mr., I would move that 9576, 9577, 9578, and 9579 become excess lands available per policy for consideration.
White seconds.
Is there any further discussion? I would add to the comments that have been made so far is that technically, what we do is make a recommendation to the full authority. We do not have the ability to approve the sale of these lands. We have the ability to recommend that the lands be offered for sale pursuant to the policy of the full authority. Are there any questions? Hearing none, do we have a motion? We do have a motion and a second. This calls for a roll call vote. Dawn, would you so do?
Mr. Flacco?
Aye.
Ms. Derrick?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Borboon?
Yes.
Ms. Wade?
Yes.
Mr. Breitling?
Yes.
Ms. Sternberg?
Aye.
And Mr. Zimmerman?
Yes.
And that is everyone.
Thank you. The chair will rule the motion is carried. The next item on our agenda is number 5, and this deals with OINs 1665, 1792, 1793, and 1802. And I would ask Mr. Fisher again to provide us with the background information necessary to respond to this request.
Thank you again, Chairman. We have 4 OINs located on the Minnesota side. They are considered in the UMA Mitigation Zone 1. These are former homestead sites, as noted on the mapping area. As part of this, we are combining or looking to combine these 4 parcels into one, which would total 22.37 acres. Being this is in the UMA Mitigation Zone 1, we are seeking that $5,000 per acre rate as proposed if we do push this through the excess land policy for a total of $111,000. That being said, one note of interest on this site is that as part of OIN 1792, we do have one existing structure that is being mitigated currently, and that should be removed shortly. So as part of that, we would not do any type of transaction prior to that last mitigation of that gazebo, is what it is, to be removed prior to moving this through the excess policy, program, and move forward with that. With that, I'll take any questions.
Are there any questions of Mr. Fisher? Mr. Campbell?
Thank you. So under the excess policy, because these were individual lots before and the whole process would go back, that each of those would have an opportunity under the excess lands current policy.
Correct.
If we put them all if we combine them all as one lot, what happens to that policy?
So as we've talked before, we would actually notify all 4 landowners who actually had this to offer to them. They've indicated that as their own, they would like to purchase and then resplit this if necessary. And so knowing that information and the way the policy works, we figured it would just be beneficial on our end just to lump this as one to ensure that if we did have one go, we would get all to go in that process.
So all 4 are interested in it?
All 4 are interested?
Yeah, I think if we get interest from all 4, we would, I think the response back to them was, we're selling it as one. If you want to put a combined bid together, if you want to orchestrate that amongst yourselves, I think we'd be open to entertaining this scenario like that.
So is the action that we want to do today then would be to to just combine the lots into one?
I think we're proposing to sell it as, one package. If we get interest and they want to buy, if the four of them come together with a combined, motion or something, we can probably be flexible that way. But the intention is to sell it all, in one action. I think to Justin's point is, we don't want to be stuck with some goofy remnant that nobody wants, and so we're trying to avoid that scenario.
Are there 4 different landowners for each of these 4 tracts?
Yes.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
is there a hierarchy of how this would work? So they could be concurrently part of the 4, but then once they know what that bid is, they could do an individual bid that could be higher?
Sure. Yeah, we have timelines where if there's an interest, they have a minimum of 30 days to respond as former owners. And so if we get somebody that responds on day 2, the others could wait till day 5 or day 10 or, whatever within that 30-day window. But as long as we have a bid within that 30-day window, then we would, as long as it meets the minimum, we would move forward with that.
Just to be, I don't mean to create a lot of problems here, but wouldn't we be going against our own excess lands policy on the way we normally do things by not allowing each of them the opportunity to buy back their own lot? That's part of that hierarchy that was just asked about.
Justin, your preference on this, yeah?
Have we had situations like this? that
We
you're
have
aware
not,
of?
no.
Yeah. So in viewing this, as we look at, for instance, 1792, that is kind of a unique parcel. And so it makes sense on our end to ensure that if we can promote a sale, we can encapsulate that as well too. So we don't have something that's potentially landlocked or something that provides another unique real estate concern that we have later on. So our thought process was in this, knowing that we do have interest from the prior landowners, because rather than taking flowage easements, they did sell, but they do want to do a buyback. We would lump this together knowing that there is interest in that process.
I have a question. What was the compensation given to each of these 4?
Well, recognize that every one of these parcels had improvements on it when we bought the land. And, you can see at 1793, for example, that was Heartland Seed. And so there was, dozens of structures and grain bins and, seed processing factory there. There was a home and an outbuilding on 1665. There was a small home on 1802 that we purchased years ago. There were 2 different gazebos on 1792 that were purchased and are being mitigated. So the purchase price included all of the improvements as well as the land. And so I could give you those numbers, but just recognize it's an apple and an orange. Yeah.
But Mr. Chair, under our current excess lands policy and the hierarchy that we talked about, it first goes to our members for consideration if there is a public need. And then after that, it goes back to, through that process, it goes to each particular lot owner to have an opportunity to buy it back. So if we're going to combine these all into one, 3 of them could lose out. That's what I'm not understanding here. To me, we're going against what our excess lands policy says to do from a hierarchy standpoint.
There are several ways to address that question. One would be to include a price, the $101,000 for each of the lots. They're not going to pay that. And offer it to them.
Is that how we've done every other excess lands?
We have the ability to seek appraisals and determine values, but there's nothing to preclude us from establishing our own value without seeking that of an appraiser.
And I guess I don't have a problem with that, but that would be following the excess lands policy, though, because we'd first be
Right.
offering each one of them
Right.
that
Even-
lot at a
Even at the
price.
higher price, yeah.
I mean,
There's lots of ways to get around
yeah.
things.
I don't think we're getting around it, though, by combining them all and offering it as one. I don't think that's following our excess lands policy.
I think if the committee prefers proposing to sell each one individually or list each one individually, we could go that route. Recognize there probably are some risks of not getting a buyer if we go that pathway. But that would be an option. All of them, we identified that same 5,000 per acre, which is a consistent rate we've been using for these types of properties all along. And so it's not so much, in my head anyway, it's not so much defining a different price per acre. It's the approach of selling. And I think Justin and Madeline were advising to put them all in one grouping, so that we don't end up with a remnant piece that we don't really want to own.
Mr. Chair, could we, I mean, if we put them out as 4 individuals and we don't get anybody on one of them, we could in theoretically reject all of them and bundle it at that time? Question mark?
I wish Shockley were here, but to answer that question, but so that I'm going to be responding to that inquiry, but it's not the legal opinion of our staff. And that's that if in fact you place the total value that you want from the 4 on each of the lots, I think you can. And there's nothing in that policy that says we can't establish a weird value for each of the 4. Now, that may not be kosher or consistent with,
I'm assuming,
Intent, but-
if I can, Mr. I'm assuming that these 4 lots were originally purchased through MCC JPA, through the process of land acquisitions. And in that process, when we deal with all these landowners are told, you know, what the procedures are in the future in terms of if they become excess lands, and that they have the opportunity, or that they would have the opportunity, you know, under that hierarchy that we talked about, to reobtain that land.
but we don't have a price there for them.
To me, this has nothing to do with price. This, to me, it has to do with allowing each of them the ability to reacquire what was theirs under the hierarchy system. I'm not suggesting what we put per price. That's not even what I'm talking about here. I'm just talking about each individual
But
landowner's
you have to
ability.
do both.
What?
You
Well,
can't have purchase without a price.
well, then we can establish price.
Well, my suggestion is that we take the total value for each lot as your price, and offer that to each of those people that purchase it.
Yeah, at 5,000 per acre.
No, at the price, the total price, the total value.
Mr. Chairman, the price we paid?
No, the value that we collectively put on that track, on these 4 tracks. No, on the 4 of them, total.
Mr. Chair, wouldn't that further deviate from the,
I don't
from
think so.
our path? Okay.
You would offer them the right to buy.
But
They
they would
have
only
never
be-
been guaranteed the price that they would have to pay.
Are you suggesting that we, instead of offering it as one, just to make sure I'm understanding, instead of offering it as one, if we were to buy one for $111,000, that we then sell each individually for $111,000?
Offer. Obviously, it's
So
not
it's
gonna be
not,
purchased.
but again, isn't that a deviation from policy? Because then those are obviously
How
not
would that
this.
deviate from policy?
Because don't we charge it based on $5,000 per
There's
acre?
nothing
and
in
then
that policy that requires us to offer them to purchase for what they sold it for.
No, but I'm reading it in the packet, it says based on the $5,000 per policy rate for the sale.
That's an internal administrative value that's been talked about, yes.
Is that what has typically been done in the past?
It depends.
I wouldn't support that.
Mr. Chair, you know, I think we know what's been deemed the value that we should get price per acre of $5,000. That's been listed in here. So why don't we determine the number of acres of each lot and set that as the price?
Because that could very well end up in a mess out there.
So, Mr. Chair, could I maybe throw an option out there? So I understand the desire to try and make sure we sell all 4 properties and the point Kevin's making on the different property owners per the policy. What if we went to all 4 property owners and said, our offer, or if you guys offer to pay the $111,000, all 4 of you, we will take that. If not, then it comes back to this committee, then we determine what is maybe the offer or the values for each parcel at that point. So it gives an opportunity to make sure we sell it, all 4 of them. If they don't elect to pay that price that Justin and Eric have determined, then it comes back here. We can have further conversation on what the value should be for those 4 lots.
And I think that would be I think that would be more in line with what our excess lands policy would do. You're trying to get them, we did a fairly similar, tried to do a fairly similar deal on the Horace. Same type of thing we tried to do there, where we tried to get all the landowners to get together and come up with a price. I think that's an excellent idea if you want to do that way, where we've established a value of the 4 lots. You 4 property owners, are you willing to go together and pay that? And if not, then we would have to go back and set a value on each and let them buy their own. And we would still get our $5,000 per acre. Right?
If not more as
Yeah, if
well,
not-
right?
if not
That'd be
more, yeah.
part of the discussion at that point.
I don't think that 5,000 is within the policy. That's an administrative determination internally by staff. That's all it is.
Mr. Chairman,
Is this
Question.
a motion?
oh, may I- are those sections or they're quarter sections? That 29?
That's a quarter section.
So, I mean, is it perceived that 1792 may be the hardest one to sell because of its configuration? I mean, and it looks like it's only maybe 3 acres. I mean, it looks like it's probably based upon, like 3 rods wide.
1792 is 5.86 acres, but nonetheless. And there is a easement on the east side up that section line, or quarter section line. But it's a strange parcel, yeah.
They were all still purchased individually, the four different lots.
So I guess I would suggest making a motion of going to all 4 former property owners, offering those 4 property owners to purchase it in aggregate for the proposed amount that Justin and Eric have determined. If they elect not to pay that purchase price, then it comes back to this committee for further discussion.
I will second that motion.
Is there any further question or discussion concerning the motion before us? Hearing none, I think this also requires a roll call vote. Don, would you do so?
Mr. Flacco?
Aye.
Ms. Derrick?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Borboom?
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Mr. Brightling?
Yes.
Ms. Sternberg?
Aye.
And Mr. Zimmerman?
Yes.
And that is everyone.
Thank you. The next item is forest mitigation sites deed restriction, and I believe Mr. Shockley is going to provide us with information necessary for us to respond to this item. John, you're...
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Lands Committee. Before you, we're requesting a recommendation to approve a forest site mitigation deed restriction. For information, as part of the FM diversion project, there's approximately 750 acres of land that we have to either maintain and restore or plant new as forest land as part of mitigation for forest areas that may have been disruptive, disturbed, or destroyed as part of the project. As part of that, we are required to put a deed restriction on the property that it can only be used for forest purposes and forest mitigation purposes in perpetuity. This is because it's part of our mitigation, and if you wouldn't want to sell the parcel off and have somebody demolish the trees and build a house out there. And that we'd worked with the Corps through several iterations to come up with the deed restriction. This deed restriction will actually be on properties that are owned by our member entities, including Cass County Joint Water Resource District, and the Moorhead JPA. Moorhead Clay County JPA. We wanted to bring it to the Lands Committee to get a recommendation that it was okay to have our member entities go ahead and approve it. It is a programmatic requirement of the environmental permitting. We have a map, if you would like, to see all the different forest parcels. Which color are they? Are they pink ones? Yes, they are the pink parcels. They're on both sides of the river. There's a lot of them because it's 700 acres. Happy to answer any questions.
Just for reference, I'm just zooming into a few of those forest mitigation sites. These happen to be around Oxbow. There are others, of course, but just to give you an identity of what types of properties we're talking about.
Do you have a suggestion as to the motion for this board to consider?
Mr. Chair, I think you have a member that is looking to ask a question.
Thank you, John. I just had a question on item 5 on the deed and use restrictions. It says there shall be no removal, destruction, or cutting of trees or plants. And then later it said unless otherwise specified in the AMMP, and I don't know what the AMMP is. My one question was, would that allow for mitigation such as tree removals for emerald ash borer?
It's a great question, Councilmember White. So the AMMP stands for Adaptive Mitigation, forget what the other M's plan. Management Plan. It is a permit requirement that we put this plan in place, that it is, because the project is dynamic in its impacts to the environment, and we wanted a dynamic monitoring program to make sure that such things as fish passage was maintained, and if it's not working correctly, we could adapt to a different type of monitoring or fish passage method. Same way with trees, different impacts to the environment. And so within that plan, there is a whole list of activities that are permitted, and then there's the ability for the AMMT team to which there's several resource agencies that are part of it, to make recommendations about different mitigation actions. And so, yes, I'm assuming that that team, being staffed by environmental regulatory agencies, would support the removal of diseased trees.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
And oh, sorry.
I assume it, as part of that, they could remove dead trees?
I can answer that question. As through the management portions, and talking with Army Corps of Engineers and their foresters, we would actually seek to leave deadfall as habitat for wildlife. And so as part of our future planting strategies for new forest, we've declined to do any planting of disease-prone species such as ash, just to try to hedge some of that. But then also knowing that this AMMP with our adaptive management team, it does allow in the event we do see new prevalence of disease or we have some sort of tree loss, we'd either replant or we would seek alternatives in those to meet our metrics for number of cover of trees as well as density of trees overall.
Mr. Chair, because, part of me still sees the horrific damage that happened around Inderwin, and those trees were just like it had the world's largest weed eater that came across them at, I don't know, 12 to 20 feet high, and it was totally obliterated. And so that's kind of what I'm, in some of these cases, if there's any opportunity or not.
Yeah, and I would believe that because of this partnership and how it is adaptive, if we did have some sort of catastrophic event like that, we would likely seek to actually remove a lot of the timber because that is also fuel for a potential fire too. And so we'd want to find some parsimony in either replanting and readjusting, maybe leaving some hinge trees for habitat, but overall would seek to work together with the agencies to find that solution.
As I understand, the request is to authorize or to recommend to the full board that we adopt the forest mitigation sites deed restriction and authorize the appropriate entities within the county to transfer whatever title is necessary.
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
So moved.
Is there a second?
White seconds.
Is there any other question or discussion? Hearing none, I think this also requires a roll call vote. Don?
Mr. Flacco?
Aye.
Ms. Derrick?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Borboom?
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Mr. Brightling?
Yes.
Ms. Monjo, she is actually on and is texting her votes. Ms. Turnberg?
Aye.
And Mr. Zimmerman?
Yes.
0-1.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is the rail corridor update dealing with OINs 7249 and 7234 BCD. Again, I'd ask Mr. Fisher to provide us this update.
The first update I will present is on 7249. This is a portion of the rail corridor that is adjacent to the 12 different landowners that have residents over there. 10 different landowners. We've communicated in the past with these landowners and do have interest amongst the majority. As it is wintertime now, we're no longer doing maintenance. We continue to communicate with them. We have high interest. We have not come to a final solution as to the sale of this, if it'll be as whole or proposed for parceling out.
Are there any questions of Mr. Fisher? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next item, and that's the Horace Elevator Site Update. Again, I'll ask Mr. Fisher to provide this update.
I wanted to give a quick update on the Horace Elevator site. I have been working with Horizon Realty for the Horace Elevator site. We've gone through a price analysis of the site based off of square footage. We have also sought a couple quotes for what the demo cost of the actual elevator would be in light of future purchase. Taking that into account of what the property value is and taking out potential expenses for removal, we came to the conclusion as a team and then also with the realtor that a listing price of $415,000 would be appropriate for the site itself. And that was recently listed on MLS approximately 2 weeks ago. We have received an offer on the property recently, and we will likely seek to counter that offer. We've also received multiple inquiries to the realtor, and so I think we are on the right path of getting this elevator sold to the right buyer and moving on from that portion of the corridor.
Are there any questions of Mr. Fisher concerning this item? The next item is the crop loss program update. And Mr. Dodds, I think you're going to address this matter?
Yeah, wanted to provide an update for the board or for the committee. As you may know, we've been working to develop the diversions crop loss programs. These were programs that were committed to in the settlement agreement, and we've been advancing those over the last several years. The Diversion Authority has been working with a company called Watson Associates. They are the premier crop insurance development firm in the country, developing somewhere like 90% of all crop insurance programs. So we feel like we've got the right team that's helping guide us through this. Our program is technically not insurance because we're not requiring a premium from the landowners. It's really more of a crop loss program where we will provide the indemnifications to them. Just today wanted to share with the group that we've, again, continued to work on this. We have a updated scope of work from Watts that's in a contract being presented to the Finance Committee in about a half hour, and was presuming that passes, goes to the board tomorrow. The 8 items listed on the bottom of this page are a summary of what the Watts team will be focusing on over the next several months, trying to get that program from its near draft position across the finish line to being fully stood up and ready for spring of '27 when we might be ready to operate. So just high level wanted to share that. The scope of work that Watts will be focusing on is in your packet. I don't intend to go through that in any detail, but just to scroll through it here quickly. If you have any questions, I'm happy to help answer that.
Are there any questions of Mr. Dodds concerning this item? That's not a raised hand? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 10, post-operation debris removal and restoration plan and subcommittee development. Mr. Dodds, I think you will provide us with information requiring this, or addressing this item.
Yes, thank you. Similarly, the Diversion Authority in the settlement agreement had committed to creating a program to assist farmers with cleanup of debris after the project operates. We know from experience that flooding in our part of the world brings debris that, ends up in kind of a beach ridge of where the water occurred. And knowing that we are intentionally storing floodwaters upstream of the embankment on those farmlands, it's likely that we will have some debris that gets stored on those farmlands, and thus the requirement or commitment that was made for us to assist those farmers in helping clean up that debris and any other non-structural property damage, such as culverts that might get washed out that lead to their fields. So we've had a team working to develop this over the last probably year or more. We're making, I think, good progress. Today, wanted to just first off remind the committee that this is something we've committed to doing. The provisions of the settlement agreement are in your packet, and so just a reminder that we've committed to this. We've committed to trying to assist in getting that debris off of the farm fields within 10 days of water receding, and so a pretty expedient process will need to be in place for that. And then we also had committed to recognizing that we don't know how often we're going to operate. We don't know how big the flood event will be. We don't know how much debris there will be, and we don't know where the debris was going to go. Lots of unknowns. And so recognizing that at the time that the settlement agreement was established, there was also a commitment to establish a subcommittee, presumably a subcommittee of this committee, and that subcommittee was supposed to be staffed with, or supposed to be seated with 2 members from the Richland Wilkin JPA, as well as other members from the Diversion Authority. And the intention is that subcommittee would then be established to help finalize the program before it's implemented. And so in this document here, we've framed out a concept for the formation of that subcommittee. Wanted to plant the seed with the group here today, not expecting any decisions to be made at this point, but in concept, suggesting again that this would be a subcommittee of the Land Management Committee, proposing that we would have 7 members total, 5 of them from the Diversion Authority, suggesting 1 could be from the Cass County Joint Board, 1 from the MCCJPA, 1 from this Land Management Committee, and then we might have 2 other seats that could be filled if desired, and then also having those 2 members from the Richland Wilkin JPA. All members would be voting. That would be an advisory board that would bubble up to this committee and then ultimately to the Diversion Authority. Suggestions that the chair and the vice chair would be representatives of the Diversion Authority to help staff and administer that group as well. Mr. Shockley, I believe, is working on some resolutions that we would bring forward to formally establish this, but wanted to plant those seeds. If you have feedback, we think we'd certainly accept that. And then also in front of you today is a suggested timeline. Again, we've got a draft of the plan that's been developed, and we're doing some staff reviews at the moment, hoping to round out those staff reviews in the first quarter of '26, proposing to have that plan ready for committee consideration in April, suggested forming the subcommittee and having the initial meeting in May, probably 4, 5, 6 months of meetings with that subcommittee, and then finalizing the plan this time next year so that it's in place for the spring of 2027. Just threw a lot of stuff at you, so I'll pause, see if there's comments, questions, if you want me to go back over and add any more details on that.
Are there any questions? Is there a motion that you want today?
This is really just for information. Didn't expect any action here today. I can tell you Mr. Zimmerman and Mr. Borboom are starting to provide a lot of good valuable input as we firm up the details of the plan, so appreciate their input.
Thank you. Are there any other questions of Mr. Dodds concerning this item? The next item of business on our agenda is other business. Is there any other business that should come before this board at this time? I see no hands raised. I'll take that as a determination that we have no other business to determine. The next meeting is yet to be determined. It'll be sometime in January. We'll provide notice concerning that time and date. Are there any other questions? If not, the chair will determine this committee meeting adjourned. Thank you.